very, very simple. People will pass these plants up in stores that come back year after year simply because they look like they're dead. Looks can be very deceiving. Don't judge a book by its cover. 99% of the time, these plants simply have just been underwater. Hey y'all, it's Jess. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, I do plant videos, home decor, and DIY. So if that's something that you're into, hit the subscribe button down below, and I'd love to have you join my family here. So as y'all may have seen in my recent videos or also over on my Instagram, that I have been doing a ton of shopping, and I buy most of my plants on clearance or in this distressed looking state, and I've been getting a ton of questions on how I care for them or how I bring them back to life. So today I'll be sharing with you all of my tips on how to care for distressed or clearance plants in just 6 easy steps. I've gathered all of the supplies that I need here to make my job quick and easy as possible, starting off with my gloves. So you definitely want to protect your hands first and foremost. You don't know if these plants are coming with any types of disease or fungus. So first and foremost, get you some gloves. You'll also need a good pair of pruners to trim off any dying or dead branches. I've also got a spray bottle here. This is water and alcohol mixed together. It's basically a diluted mix. A bucket here to put all of your clippings in, a towel to wipe off your pruners, and then you'll definitely want a watering can or a hose, something to water your plants very well with. So step one is to sanitize your pruners. So you definitely want to just sanitize. You can use a bleach mixture, or I like to use the alcohol and water mixture, but definitely want to clean your pruners before you begin cutting on any plant. You also want to cut between every plant just so that you prevent transferring any type of disease or fungus. The plants may look okay to the naked eye, but you just never know what's growing underneath. So step one, sanitize your pruners. So once your pruners are sanitized, step number two is you want to check for life. Now this is a step that you definitely want to do in stores before you purchase the plant. Obviously I've already done that, but if you have not got a chance to, definitely check your plant for life. All you have to do is take a stem and you can use your pruners or a knife and just scrape the surface. And if you see green under that surface, that means that plant is alive. It's still growing, it's still healthy, there's still life in the plant. This plant is just stressed. Now there are different types of stress. If you see your plant yellowing from the inside out, meaning that the inside of your plant is yellow and all of your foliage on the outside is green, that's an indicator that the plant is struggling to take up what it needs. It's struggling to take up water through its roots and the nutrients through its roots to be able to support the green foliage that it needs. So that's one type of stress. If your plant is browning from the top down, then that's indicator of, or if you see like one branch dying one at a time. So if your whole plant's green, you've got one dying branch, that normally is something wrong down in your soil. There's something wrong with your roots. You might have roots dying from root rot or any type of insect up under your soil. Also, if you see crispy brown dried up leaves like that, that typically is just a water issue. Your plant's not getting enough water and it is getting sun scorched. So you just want to prune all of this stuff that you are not seeing nice and green and healthy off of your plant. Step three is to check your root system. You want to make sure that your roots are nice and healthy, that your plant is not going any type of root rot or not root bound. So you just want to slide the plant out of its pot and check the roots on the plant. There should be a nice healthy root system. This one is not in a terrible state. You want to check for big healthy roots on the outside and the bottom of the plant. Your roots should be white in color. That means that you have a healthy root system. You also want to check to see if your plant is root bound. Now if you don't know what root bound means that basically your roots are tightly wound around the base of the plant and it's basically choking itself and the plant can't take up what it needs. Typically you'll see a lot of small roots just tightly wound, or you may see more roots than soil. That means that your plant is root bound. Step 4 is to prune your plant. So after I've checked the root system and I determine that the roots are healthy, I will go through and I'll assess the plant and decide whether I want to leave foliage or if I'm going to be doing a hard cut. If you are going to be cutting foliage, you want to make sure that you leave enough foliage on the plant so that the plant can still photosynthesize. So don't take away all of its leaves because it needs those leaves to absorb the sunlight to properly photosynthesize and feed the plant. The general rule of thumb is to take off 1/3 of the plant, and some people will say take off 1/3 from the top and then also take off 1/3 from the root system. But I usually leave the roots alone unless they're in a really terrible root bound state. If they are root bound, you can take a knife and make a few slits in the bottom, work them loose before you put them down in the ground. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to take out any wimpy stems that I'm seeing. Anything that you see that is smaller than a pencil, you want to prune that off so that you are left with just the big strong stems to support the leaf system of the plant. So again, while you're pruning, I'm going to take back most of the foliage of this plant just because you can see there is a bare spot here. So what I'm doing is, you see these small wimpy stems? These are smaller than a pencil. This is what I mean by wimpy. You want to just find where that meets the base and cut that off just like that and just toss it. So you want to go through and do that for the whole plant. You want to cut off anything that is dry and brittle, again, that is not showing any signs of green underneath. Be very, very careful when you're doing this. And again, guys, when you're cutting this, don't be scared. These are perennial. They will come back next year. I'm just going to go through and give this a nice pruning, and I'll be back with you all. Also, when you are pruning, you want to make sure if you are leaving foliage that you want to prune right above a node. So right where you see a little nub in the branch, that's where your new growth is going to grow out. So you want to make a snip on an angle right above that. Okay, so I've got this one all pruned back. I did give this one a harsh prune job just because I do want to basically regrow the plant all over again from a fresh start. So I'm done with this one. I'm going to move on to my limelight hydrangea next. Getting some of this off here. Okay, so this here is another hydrangea. Again, I'm going to sanitize my pruners before I begin on a new plant, just to make sure I'm not transferring any disease, any type of fungus, or whatever the plant may be harboring. Now this one here I have already pruned just a little bit. This one had a bunch of big blooms just like this, and I cut them off just because the plant was weighed down and leaned over, and I brought them inside for a cut flower arrangement. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one a prune job similar to this one, but not as harsh. I am going to leave some of this foliage just because this foliage is green, and basically just clean up any dead or brown leaves that I see on the plant. Now another thing that you want to be careful of is the type of plant that you're pruning, particularly hydrangeas. There are two types of hydrangeas. You have the ones that are in the macrophylla, and then you have the paniculata. The limelights are a paniculata, which means that they bloom on new wood. So everything that I've cut back, it's going to flush out and it'll bloom from that growth next year. Now if this were a macrophylla, I would not be pruning this hard, because macrophylla hydrangeas, they grow on, or I should say they bloom on their old growth. So you want to make sure that any growth that you have throughout the year, you do not cut that back until after it's done blooming. So I'm going to go ahead and finish pruning this one, and I'll be back with you all. one all pruned up to my liking. I didn't really have to do much to this because there are basically nothing but these strong stems left. I just took off the remaining buds and also cleaned out any brown and unhealthy looking foliage on the plant. Next, you also want to make sure that you clean out any debris in the base of the plant as well. Okay, so I finished the limelight. Next, I'll be working on this echinacea, also known as a coneflower. As you can see, the foliage on this plant is not in too bad a condition. It's still green, but the blooms are looking a bit tired and split. So I'm just going to go through and deadhead the plant. And all deadheading is you want to follow the base of the flower down to where the leaves meet and just make a snip, just like that. That's all there is to it, guys. Don't be scared at all to cut back your perennials. Also your annuals, but definitely your perennials. They will grow back and push out with all new growth and be nice and full for the next season. So don't be scared. The plant will grow. Okay, so I'm done deadheading, and I'm just going to go through and cut off any other dying stems that I'm seeing that may be brown or yellow, and also any brown or yellow leaves. Just pull those off gently. You want to be gentle, guys. Make sure you're not damaging the plant more than it already is. Yeah, any brown leaves, just make sure you clean those out. And that's all there really is to it, guys. All you want to do is prune off any unsightly foliage or blooms on the plant so that the plant can focus on sending energy to nice, fresh, new growth and not be struggling to keep any dying or yellow leaves surviving, if you know what I mean. So once you're done pruning, you want to move on to step 5, which is going to be location. So being that your plants are already stressed, you want to make sure that you give them the ideal growing locations, which would be morning sun and afternoon shade. You don't want to put them in any type of full sun situation. Even though this is a full sun plant, you don't want to give it any direct sun that is going to stress out the plant even more while it's recuperating. So an ideal growing location would be either a north or east side of your house. You definitely don't want to put it anywhere south facing or west facing, because you want to keep that away, keep your plant away from any harsh sun rays. If you're not sure which direction your house faces, you can of course get a compass, or you can just pay attention to how the sun rises and sets. We all know the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. So just pay attention to how your sun rises and falls. You can determine which way your windows face in your house. Once you have it in an ideal growing location, step 6 is water. Water, 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 y'all. These plants are already stressed. They have not been receiving the water that they need to properly hydrate the plant to be able to process the photosynthesis. So that is why they are so dried and in the condition that they're in. So you want to make sure that you're giving it proper water. For the first time, I do typically wet the leaves. Normally a plant does not like to be watered from overhead. They typically just like to be watered at the base of the plant and soak the roots. So for the first time, I will wet the leaves just to kind of wake up the plant a little bit, let it drain. I normally will let it rinse through the drain holes 3 good times for the first watering, and then I also water every single day, every morning and every afternoon. If you have someone and it's over 90 degrees in your area and it's super, super hot, if you have someone at home during the day that can water them during the middle of the day, even better. But make sure you are keeping up on the water on these plants so that they can rehydrate themselves and push out that new foliage on your plants. If you have a root bound plant, typically I will let my plants sit in a tub of water for about 1 to 2 hours, y'all. You don't want to leave them overnight or for a whole day, because you will end up root rotting your plant and overwatering it that way. But if the plant is root wide, you can sit it in a base of water and let it basically soak up from the soil and through the roots, just to wake up the plant and get it used to taking up the nutrients that it needs again to revive the plant. But yes, water, water, water. Make sure you are staying on top of the watering of your plants so that they can recuperate and bloom and flourish the way that you want them to. But yeah, that's really all there is to it, guys. It's super, super simple. People will pass up these amazing plants that come back every single year simply because they think they're dead. looks can be very deceiving. Do not judge a book by its cover. 99% of the time, these plants simply have just been underwatered and neglected. But I promise you, if you follow these 6 simple steps and with just a little TLC, your plants will come back and perform for you beautifully year after year. I hope this video was helpful. I hope that you all maybe learned some things and now are inspired to go out to your garden centers and save a little plant life. I hope that you're not intimidated now. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave those down in the comments below, y'all. I love interacting with y'all in the comments. Y'all make it so much fun. I'll answer any questions that you have. Also, if I missed anything or if you have any tips for me, also leave those down in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.